This is Dasher 360, which is Project Dasher reimagined with the Forge platform. So what we're doing here is logging in with our Autodesk credentials, and from there we can access the various models that are stored inside Collaboration for Revit or Fusion 360. And here we're going to navigate down through to see the various models that we have, but we're actually going to open the model using the shortcut list at the top, which is a convenience to make sure we open the right one. And then the model gets loaded in the Forge viewer. You can see automatically, if you're familiar with the A360 viewer, that you recognize it already. On the left-hand side, we have a number of custom capabilities that we've built into Dasher 360. So whether it's turning on the visibility of sensors or managing those sensors. And various other capabilities as well. As we mouse over the various sensor dots, we can bring up the tooltips, which for green sensors provide some information about the data on the back end, and when we click on them it brings up a graph showing the sensor data from our database. Now the grey sensors don't have data associated inside the model, but what we can do is bring up the sensor list, and as we mouse over the various items in there we can see them highlighted in the right hand side. And so we have the idea of model sensors, which are sensors that come from the Revit file, and then we have position sensors and unpositioned sensors which exist in the database. So here we're taking an unpositioned sensor and positioning it inside the 3D model, and there straight away we can see the data associated with it. Now this sensor has gone from being an unpositioned sensor to being a position sensor just by with the fact that we placed it. Now next we're going to take a look at some navigation capabilities. So we're going to go floor by floor through the model. We're going to isolate the 5th floor of the model. Now here you can see this is where most of the sensors are in the building, that we're going to turn those off. And what we're going to do now is apply some surface shading onto the 5th floor of the building. And what this does is drapes some heat map data across the geometry of the building. Now this for the moment is a simulation, but in due course we'll make sure it corresponds to actual sensor data. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at navigating using a different mechanism. So rather than using the breadcrumb view that we saw at the top, we're going to make use of the additional kind of sensor panel, building navigation panel, which allows us to use a tree view to go and navigate down room by room, as well as floor by floor, the same as with the breadcrumbs. But if we double click on a room, it's not only, rather than just isolating that room, it's going to take us into a first person view. So this is a bit like a video game view. You can navigate through using the WASD keys or the arrow keys, and so here we're going to navigate through to a particular area of interest in the building. So here we're going to go along the corridor, and we're going to end up in an area where we have 3 cubicles that are of interest to us. Now we see a bunch of sensors that are actually coming through walls. Really the dots are just, they're not occluded, but if we turn on sensor occlusion, then we'll just see the sensors in the immediate vicinity, which makes it a lot easier to make sense of the sensor information that there is. So there we can see the grey sensors as before, but we also have the green sensors which have data associated, which we can bring up just as we did before. The next thing we're going to take a look at is a convenient capability that we added called the dashboard, and this is going to allow us to sort of manage sensors that we want to take a look at regularly, or to share with other people who are going to make use of this model. So here we can see a whole slew of sensors in the dashboard. We've adjusted the sizes on some of the sensors so they're quite small, but others can be very big. And there we can see already a preview of the data, much as we saw with the tooltips. And as we hover over the sensors, we can have them appear inside the sensor list, and we just can click on the dashboard button and make sure that that sensor gets added into our dashboard, which will get shared with the people using this model. And then we can click on the dashboard and also bring up the data directly from there. The other part of the dashboard that's of interest is around navigation. So there's another tab there that we can click on, and this hosts a number of thumbnails for various views in the model. Now we can click on the camera icon, which is going to add in a thumbnail for the current view, and then we can use the various thumbnails to switch between views inside the model and return to the original one that we had. So this is very convenient if you want to navigate around the model and work with it that way. That was a very quick overview of Dasher 360. We hope you found it useful.